everyone watching the video version of the Linux Action Show. We're doing something a little new. We've been doing it for a couple episodes now. We're doing a multiple camera setup, and we're also going to try to bring in content, visual content, when we're talking about something. So if this is one of the first times you've watched the video version of Linux Action Show, we hope you enjoy it. It's still a little rough. There's a few cameras that aren't quite where we want them at. Like we have a room cam here, and this room cam it's just really just kind of for the novelty of it. It's not very good. But anyways, we'll be switching cameras and showing content during the video version, and I hope you enjoy it. There's also always, of course, OGG versions of this, iPod Portable, 720p downloads, or even Flash, so whichever you like, you can get it in many different flavors. All right, Brian, you ready to kick off the audio version?
Most likely I am.
2 L's is like saying very. Okay, I don't know what that means. Here we go. Season 10, Episode
3.
All right.
And welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 10, Episode 3. My name is Brian. With me, of course, is Chris.
Hey, Brian. The new Tesla S17 nav system, I don't actually know if that's the right model number.
You really don't.
Runs Linux. Now, what the heck am I talking about, Brian? Now, if you know...
What the heck are you talking about, Chris?
Do you know what a Tesla is? It's the electric cars.
It's the electric car that has nothing to do with, but is named after Nikola Tesla.
Right.
Right.
And they're coming out, supposedly in, like the next few years, they're going to come out with a sedan four-door, because they have a sports model right now, and they're going to come out with a sedan model, and all the controls are completely touchscreen, and they run Linux. So it's pretty slick looking.
Awesome,
like even the temperature controls and everything are all touch, and it looks really sharp. If you're watching the video version right now, you can see it. It's very fancy.
It looks slick.
It's a nice looking setup, and the fact that it runs Linux in probably, I'm going to just go out there and say it, Brian, it's got to be one of the most advanced cars that's ever going to be built. And oh, by the way, it runs Linux.
And it's just really cool.
Yep.
That's a plus.
They're very neat. I would very, very much like to have one if they can get them down to the right price point.
Dude, seriously.
All right, Brian, I've got my notepad here.
Ooh, nice.
Hey,
very low-tech notepad.
Have I said in the Linux Action Show that I did indeed? My wife delivered like 9-10 days ago.
No.
Yep. So I've got a kid now, Brian.
What?
I know.
You have a kid?
I've got a kid.
How crazy is that?
So,
congratulations, young man.
You know what's interesting is I was going through some old content of the show, and I found the show where I announced that I'm having a kid. And that seems like 100 years ago.
It was a while ago.
It's been a long trip, but it's a healthy little baby boy, and mom and baby are very good. So everybody's happy.
It's good news all around. Plus, hey, it's a cute little fart.
There you have it.
The guy's looking all right.
So this next topic, was just a couple of things. First, I'm going to just say right off the top, you might have noticed that you didn't have to wait a month to get this episode.
Well, that's just weird.
Right? So we are very, very thankful to announce that between the support of the community and one very gracious donor who, his name is Philip, and he basically decided that he wanted more Linux Action Show faster. And he contacted us and said, hey, guys, I'd like to send a little extra money your way to get you to the 100 mark.
Yep.
So that way we can get more shows. And I said, hey, Philip, I really appreciate that. But, we're getting there slow and steady. It's actually, every day we're gaining more.
It's more and more as we go. Yeah.
And so he said, yeah, that's cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and buy the remaining subscriptions. And I'm going to get you to 100, and then anything else you get on top of that will help you meet your future goals. So this guy is just an awesome guy. He's from Switzerland, and he's in the forum, and he's also on Twitter. You can hit him up. He's Philif on Twitter.
Pilif.
Yeah, Pilif.
It's Philip backwards.
Oh, very clever. Good job, Brian.
Yeah.
And
spelled different.
So he's the duder that
he's responsible for this show happening right now.
Right. Also, all the other people that have contributed, and I've been trying to write each...
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess he's not the only one.
Right.
But he did cool things.
I've been trying to write each one of you individually to thank you, but big thanks goes to Philip because he bought a whole bunch of the subscriptions, and he's a very awesome guy. Now, so that said, we're recording this on a Friday because we kind of have a busy weekend coming up.
Very busy weekend.
This time, it's the end of April here in Western Washington. The end of April always means one thing, at least it has for the last 10 years, and that is Linux Fest Northwest.
Allergies.
And for you, allergies. And our very special Brian LAS here is going to be speaking at Linux Fest. Now, for 99% of you, this is kind of not as relevant.
You can't make it to the northwestern portion of Washington for a weekend getaway. So
right.
But if you're in the area, if you're anywhere in the greater Pacific Northwest of North America, which includes the people up in Vancouver and Victoria, British Columbia, and Canada there, Bellingham's not too far of a drive. And Linux Fest Northwest is free, and it's fun. It's kind of a low-key event, really. It's basically just a lot of Linux nerds getting together. They've got an area that they have set up with exhibitor booths and whatnot, and they usually have a couple of big names there. HP will show up, and a couple other vendors, and Novell, and everyone will show up, and that's kind of fun. And they got Mad Dog's going to be there this year.
Yeah,
speaking,
buddy.
Which is pretty cool. But of course, I feel bad because now I'm showing up and taking the light away,
right? Because Brian's going to be speaking.
Poor guy taken away from Mad Dog.
We're going to try to shoot video, so those of you who can't make it, we're going to try to release a video version of what we did. Yep,
yeah, it should be pretty good. Of course, if you're listening to this now, the likelihood is you'll be listening to it afterwards, so it might already be up, and we'll see how it goes. I'm actually a little nervous myself, to be honest with you, because my speech is why Linux sucks. So,
but it's not. You don't. It's come on now. Come on, you're gonna get everybody all riled up.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the point.
That's the whole point.
It's not really. It's not a bash session. It's
no. It's a love thing. It's a big tough love fest. It's a call to arms and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
But literally, I've got like slides that say like Xorg sucks or packaging sucks, and it's it's a little tongue in cheek, and it's a little harsh, and it's a little factual, and I'm guessing there's going to be at least one guy there that just gets pissed off, and that sounds kind of fun. So I'm a little nervous about it, but it should be cool.
I think it's going to go great. And
the great thing is it's at 11 a.m. on Sunday, which means it's 45 minutes long. So even with Q&A, it'll be done with by lunchtime, and then we're going to go drink beer and have burgers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then everything goes away, no matter how it went.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely, if you're going to be at Linux Fest Northwest, try to catch up with us.
Yeah, send us an email, drop us a Twitter.
Yeah, I think we'll just Twitter kind of where we're at because we're a bunch
I'll be twittering throughout the day on Sunday.
We're a bunch of 16-year-old girls. All right. So then the last thing is kind of fun, depending on if you like this kind of thing. Is Brian and I are we've been live streaming the shows now for a little while. We're doing
for a little while.
Linux Action Show. We've been doing for quite a while now, almost 2 seasons. But and now we're doing Castablasta. And what we decided to do is, what we've found out through this streaming process is it's not so much about the video, which kind of seems like a douchebag kind of thing to say, but it's not so much about the video. It's about the people in the chat room. It really is about the chat room.
It's like a community building.
And then the video is something to kind of organize around. So with that said, we're going to try to live stream pretty much all the time, either one of us. And we both have different channels. So you can watch either one of us. Brian is taking kind of like a Coding with Brian show where you take calls.
Yep.
And that's cool. And I am doing, when I edit podcasts like video editing and things like that, I'm going to open up the chat room, the stream, and do a screencast and kind of do like, at least what I know of video editing. So that way it's, and maybe people can give me tips and things like that. So it's fun. You can find mine, which is, if you're watching this right now, it's down because we're doing this stream. You can find mine over at chrisfisherlive.tv or from my blog, bin-false.org. And Brian?
Yeah, everything. Just head over to my blog at lunduke.com, and I've got links there and a little postage stamp-sized video up in the corner you can click on.
And here's the thing, Brian, is... when you think of live streaming all of the time, and we're going to try to do it all the time.
24/7. I've actually got a new connection coming in.
Yep.
Just to make sure we have a high-quality, dedicated line going.
You got it. And when you think of it, some of you might think of, Chris Perillo. But...
No.
And here's the thing, is when Chris Perillo isn't interacting with the camera, he's just shooting the back of his head.
Right.
And so what Brian and I are doing is we've gone through... First of all, we've got a huge back catalog of great content.
We've got cameras in the showers, man.
We've got
ready to go.
We've got content for Jupiter Broadcasting that's a mile long, so we can roll some of that. But we also we've spent a lot of time going out and finding just really geeky, nerdy content. Classic Computer Chronicle shows.
Oh yeah,
sci-fi movies, video games,
old Batman cartoon or
Superman cartoons.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to. The stream's always going to try to have some sort of interesting content. I just got done doing 24 hours of really retro sci-fi marathon.
Yep.
And that was really awesome. It was a lot of fun, and people jump in and chat with me, and I talk with them, and it's just something to do. And then when I'm not here, I leave the stream going with some content. Sometimes I leave a camera on so you know if I'm here or not. But yeah, that's kind of
it's good times.
It's good times.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, some people will check it out and see if they like it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Tons of fun.
Well, Brian, before we get into the news, why don't we give a shout out to our buddies over at GoDaddy.com.
At GoDaddy.com, why whatever do you mean? Do
Well,
you mean perhaps that this episode is brought to you in part by GoDaddy.com?
This very episode, Brian.
And I quote, "This episode of the Linux Action Show is sponsored by GoDaddy.com, the world's largest web host and domain registrar. If you're ready to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has got you covered. Domain names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting with unlimited disk space and bandwidth. Do-it-yourself website builders, dedicated servers, SSL certificates, and much, much more. Plus, as a listener of the Linux Action Show or viewer, enter code LINUX. That's LINUX, all uppercase, please. Just throw the caps lock on and type Linux like you do all day long anyway. At checkout and take an additional 10% off your entire order. Some restrictions may apply. See site for details. Get your piece of the internet now at GoDaddy.com.
Thank you, GoDaddy, and thank you everyone who uses those codes. We do very, very much appreciate your support.
Appreciate.
And plus, Brian, come on, when you're buying something, how cool is it to use the coupon code Linux?
You just want to? I just type it in.
I just set up ChrisFisherLive.tv, and I'm on a hosted GoDaddy server. And I decided I'll go check out their. It used to be called Metropolis, but now it's called GoDaddy Hosting Connection. They've got a ton of stuff. Not only on there, they have a bunch of stuff, but then they have like an open comments and rating system, so you can see. There's threads on reviews of that particular application that you can install to your website with a star system, kind of like when you go to Amazon and buy something.
Absolutely.
And all those things are like free. Like it's 2-click and you have a WordPress blog. It's sweet. So that's nice. And then
not having that stuff is bollocks.
Then on top of that, I wanted to see kind of just get like an ETA when my site would be ready. I called them up and like I was on the phone in 4 minutes with somebody talking to somebody, and they were walking me through making sure I had all my DNS right and everything like that.
That's awesome.
So it is really cool. All right, Brian, let's do the news.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian. Well, of course, our top story is Ubuntu 9.04 has been officially released and is available for download.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so Ubuntu 9.04 is out, and it's got a lot of, nice new features that are very nice to have.
All new orange desktop.
It does have a new orange desktop background, but it's also got an improved boot time, and it has new versions of Xorg and all of the major packages of GNOME and Firefox and things like that, OpenOffice. So we've had a chance to run it for a little bit.
I've actually been running it since we kind of hit that beta period.
Yeah.
Since 904 hit beta, I've been running it on my little HP
Look at you.
1000 netbook
Look
here,
at you.
and of course I've been running it on my primary desktop. Plus I've been running it in VMs, and I'm actually really liking it. I've got to say, Ubuntu 8.10 underwhelmed me. It just, I ran it. It was fine. It did the job. That was great. But I expected a lot more. You know what I mean? It was 8.10 was not a long-term support release. It was supposed
I think that was
to
our
be
general consensus.
It was supposed to be cutting edge, and it really wasn't. There was some cool stuff in it, but nothing really cool. They updated a little bit, but it really just didn't, awesome. Now 904, on the other hand, it's a lot better.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit.
It's a heck of a lot better, and I've really been enjoying it. So
I also think it would make a good long-term support version.
I think this is a great long-term support version. It's both cutting edge enough and long-term support enough to make me happy.
Right.
And if they can do this with the next 1 or 2 releases, well, now they've really got something going on where they're actually progressing at a really interesting and exciting rate.
So you've been running it.
I have.
What do you think?
I absolutely cannot recommend it enough, unless you're using proprietary video drivers. If you're using proprietary video drivers, hold off. I would recommend waiting a week or two.
Oh, so
just in case you need the video things to catch up, because there's a new version of Xorg inside 904. So there's a few issues there. Now that said, I really didn't encounter that many problems, but there were some NVIDIA issues and the like that did crop up. So, but if you're running like an Intel graphics card, no problems. Just roll with it.
Okay.
So I recommend it if you're an Ubuntu person already. Now there are a few key specific things I want to touch on, and as with any distribution, there are certain things I just don't care about. And that, of course, being slightly revved version of Firefox or slightly revved version of OpenOffice, which in this case is OpenOffice 3, so that is much more than slightly revved. It is much cooler. But just the same, it just doesn't thrill me when I see the revs of, point this updated, GNOME
it doesn't
updated,
get you excited.
point
I
that.
gotcha. I feel the same way.
It's like the new version of GNOME that they're including in 904. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
But what does that by itself give me?
Well, and plus you get that from every distro that's coming out.
Exactly. So there's nothing really that differentiates it. Now, but in terms of a couple of key specific things, here's what I like.
Okay.
The new boot screen, I like it.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
It's darker, it's cleaner, it's a little more minimalist, and I like it more.
I don't like it.
I know you don't.
I don't like the little line thing. I just don't think it looks right. But
see.
It is much more seamless now.
It is much more seamless.
Doesn't really impact me in any particular way, but it is more seamless now.
It is much more seamless. And now here's the thing with that, as well as the notification system.
Yeah.
Both of them look better on Metal than they do in a virtual machine.
Yeah.
So that is really a big key. If you are running Ubuntu 904, you really should be running this on, before you really judge it, on bare metal with OpenGL acceleration. You need the 3D video card support. I don't care which card you're using; it doesn't matter to me.
Do you know?
But you really need it in order to really
for the notification system. For the
you don't need it. You don't need it, but it looks better with it. Everything looks better with it?
Is that? Why don't you talk about the notification? What did you think of the new notification?
So the new notification system, and Mark talked about this. Mark Shuttleworth, the guy, the head honcho of Canonical, talked about this last year. He really feels that the Mac system is much more usable than the Linux system. It's easier to use, it looks better, all these sorts of things. That's how he feels. So his goal is to, with each release, make something better than the previous one, to make it more and more Mac-like, basically. And so what we've really got in 904 in that regards is the new notification system, which basically replaces the old notification system, except that it's exactly the same. It just looks different.
And Mike in the chat room wants you to know that it's called Indicator, Brian. That's the official name.
Yeah. It's also called the notification system that Brian was talking about. But no, it is Indicator works too. But it looks very, very nice. Basically what it is, it's an attempt to take all those little yellow or whatever, little pop-up dealy whoppers telling you something's happened for your GNOME status, and make it a little bit nicer with a nice little fading in and fading out, and the ability to have nice, easy, and well laid out multiple stacking notifications.
Right. That's one of the nice things about it, is the way it handles multiple events.
And it does it very well. And for those Mac users, it has some similarities to the Growl notification system on OS 10, and really it blows everything on the Windows side out of the water.
Do you know if what the application has to have support for? Is it just dbus? I mean, what does the application need to be able to do in order to communicate?
Yeah, it's just dbus, and I mean it's the same notification system that was there before. It's just that it's a new way of displaying it.
So does things like Pigeon support it?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything does.
And now, did Ubuntu? Did Ubuntu add that stuff to Pigeon, or
no? Pigeon didn't have to change anything.
Oh, so it just took whatever it used to use.
It's a notification framework is in place already to send those notifications. What changed is how those notifications are being displayed. So
I noticed in and Poulter in the chat room also says Firefox doesn't do it. Like when a download completes.
Yeah, but Firefox does not play nicely on Linux.
Right, but here's my thinking is, if
I've got words about Firefox.
Ubuntu is kind of a Linux desktop juggernaut, and
it is the Linux desktop juggernaut.
If something was going to move a project or an organization like Mozilla into implementing something on the Linux side, I would think Ubuntu having support for that would be the thing that would drive them to do it. You know what I mean? Like
You'd think so.
That would give them the motivation. You would think.
You'd think so, but I mean, it's come on. Firefox on Linux has been steadily going downhill for the last year and a half. It's been getting crashier. It's been getting slower. It's been getting buggier. I mean, it makes us sad. And you know,
yeah.
I've gotten emails and I've talked with people, you know, in the chat rooms and whatnot, been having the same problems where basically, you know, we load up a Windows or Mac desktop and Firefox is rocking pretty hard, and then we load up our OpenSUSE or Fedora or Ubuntu desktops, and it's crashing constantly. It's just hanging and going all dark.
I mean, I've noticed it happens more with Flash.
It does happen more with Flash, but even if you get rid of all your extensions and you get rid of Flash, it still happens way more than it possibly should. But this is not an Ubuntu thing. This is not an Ubuntu specific thing. It's already happening on every distro. So let's focus on Ubuntu now.
Do we know of anybody else, any other distro that's going to implement this new indicators system?
Not that I've heard of. No, I really hope they do though, because it is nice.
Yeah,
I really like it. Now the other big things in terms of look and feel that Ubuntu's doing in this release, which some people may say is not that big of a deal at all, and that of course is that we've got some new themes and we've got a new desktop wallpaper.
What do you think of them?
I love them. The new desktop wallpaper is great, and the themes are phenomenal. The problem is that sure, we get new wallpaper with every distro new release.
Right.
That just always happens. And you know what? Half the time we make fun of them. Half the time we say they look really pretty. And you know what? They did a good job on this. It looks really pretty. They still stuck with the brown, which is great because that's what they like. But it's fine. It's orange and brown, but it's good orange and brown. Now the problem I have though is that they went ahead and created like 2 or 3 new themes, all of which are much darker. Actually, they're kind of grayish themes. They're very pro looking. They look kind of like the Adobe Pro applications, and they aren't default. The default theme is still the same theme that we've always had with a few minor modifications, and it's actually not modifications for the better, and that.
And their new
it's a
themes,
disappointment, but
their new themes are like dust, but it still has a lot of different orange elements in it. Here's the only thing, and I'm pretty happy with Ubuntu 904 overall, but here's the only thing is, I was listening to an older version of Linux Action Show when I was trying to pick out a few things for some reference, and we were covering 2 releases ago of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And what we said is, oh man, we were really hoping for the new artwork in this release.
Yep.
But they've pushed it out to next version +1.
Yep.
That made it, and we actually said, so hopefully in version 9.04 we'll see the brand new 3D artwork.
We were specifically promised it for what was it, for 804.
And then it got pushed.
No. It was it was 804, and then it was going to be for sure in 810.
Right.
For sure.
And then it got
pushed because they said they didn't like the results.
Right.
And then so we got pushed to 904, and now we got some new stuff, but it's buried and no normal users can ever find it.
It's good. It's not kind of the level I thought they were talking about. I mean, it does.
No,
I like
it is better.
I like the additional themes they include, though.
I do too. I'm using them, here, and it's great. It's I would show you guys, but it's kind of be low res anyway. But no, it does. It looks great, and it's got some good style to it. Yeah, you really can't see that on the video, but I really wish they'd make it default. Now, what I'm hoping for, now that we've got 904 out, and 904 is a great release, it's a little bit faster, it boots a little faster, which I think is kind of a silly feature to spend time on.
It is noticeable, though.
But it is noticeable, and so it is a good thing. And in general, it's just working very solidly. Mm-hmm. And because some of the new themes, along with some of the background, plus the login screen and the artwork of the boot splash, all look so much better that... I'd like to see something that made default in the 910 release, plus maybe 1 or 2 additional projects. Something along the lines of the new notification system, and then, man, Ubuntu is just going to be the thing. At that point, OpenSUSE and Fedora are really going to have to pull out all the stops to really make it happen.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is. They've all had improvements in other areas. Like, I really think one of the things that's really
true. That's true
with OpenSUSE is their online build service. Now, you've played with that a little bit, and I think that's got some serious cool potential.
All right, now, let's get into this briefly.
Goodness.
All right, so the OpenSUSE build service has nothing to do with OpenSUSE at all. I want to make this very, very clear. You can use it with OpenSUSE, just like you can use it with Ubuntu or you can use it with Fedora. the concept behind the OpenSUSE build service is great.
Sure.
And that is that as a developer, I can create a series of packages up on their servers
Right.
and have them generated for me.
Nice.
The downside
sounds amazing.
is it's just as complicated in every scenario, and in some cases it's actually considerably more complicated to create a package for each individual distribution through the OpenSUSE build service than it is to just create the packages locally inside, say, virtual machines. Now, here's a great example.
How is it more difficult, though?
If you want to create let's say a Debian archive to run on Ubuntu for 64-bit,
Okay.
you have to create a couple of configuration files and lay things out in a folder structure. You then run a command line tool against them, and it creates a Debian for you, which is basically a tar gzipped file with the proper structure and the files in it.
Right.
You still have to create all those configuration files, lay them out on the server, but now instead of just having your files local anyway, you're copying those files up to their server and then hoping you have everything set up properly, hoping all of their servers are running correctly, and then running it. And that's just to get a Debian archive set. Now, what if you want an RPM? Well, are you building an RPM for OpenSUSE, Fedora, etc.?
Huh.
Well, now, if you have it locally, you can have a virtual machine, say, set up, or multiple virtual machines set up, and all pointed at, say, a local network share that are all sharing the same files. And then, of course, you will just need variations on your RPM build scripts to create new RPM packages. If you're doing something similar with the OpenSUSE build service, you still need each individual configuration for every version of every operating system or in every distro you want to build the package for. Except now you're also relying on top of that their service is working fully. And you're waiting for their service, which is this service in a cloud, to get it ready for you, packages, and present it. So you have to upload it, and then you're downloading it, an extra step before you have the packages on your machine. So it takes longer, it's more work, and you're introducing additional complexity into the process. So how they implemented it doesn't make sense at all. It would be great if they just provided a mechanism that said, check these boxes if you want packages for these distros,
Right, of course,
upload it and have it generated. But they don't do that because that's not what it does. So and that really doesn't have anything to do with OpenSUSE. Now, I'm excited for it. Hopefully they get it right in the future. But for right now, it doesn't really work.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes, that's what it is.
I've never used it, so I don't know.
So like with the products that I make, I tried to use the OpenSUSE build service.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I tried for days to use the OpenSUSE build service, and I got it working, kinda. But then I just sat down with one really cool dude, and he cranked out a bunch of scripts for doing it, and now it's way quicker for me to generate them locally.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then there are great features in Fedora, of course, but really Fedora's not. It's not geared towards your average everyday user.
I suppose.
And the Fedora team even admits that. I mean, they even say they're more for cutting edge, and they're more of a playground for the cutting edge Linux software, right?
Right.
That's more their thing, which is cool, and I'm glad they exist.
Mm-hmm.
But for you're making the distro, you want it to be user friendly, and really, I mean that's been Ubuntu, right?
Yeah.
That's where they've shined.
Right. I guess so. I mean, I just kind of take issue a little bit. I mean, I think Ubuntu still has some areas to improve that they could
A lot
glean
of
from the
areas
other
to
distros.
improve, yeah.
But it's
Honestly, I think I just want to see Ubuntu take a few cues from Linux Mint, personally.
right. Well, that's why Linux Mint is around. I mean,
Yeah.
you know. But
That's
Ubuntu,
true, that's true.
So the story was Ubuntu 9.04, and I think
that's what we were talking about.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with the release. I think it would make a great long-term support
I love
candidate,
it.
as far as I can tell.
All right, so I mean, I'll have a few. I mean, I guess a few harsh things to say, but really, you'll notice not that much.
Right.
I'm really liking it. The install was seamless. A lot of you guys might have seen, like, in past versions of Ubuntu, the live installer, where you pick the time zone and everything. It was kind of a little wonky. It didn't quite work right. Like, it reacted weird to mouse clicks and whatnot. The 904 one is just a lot smoother and more seamless.
One note, though, for VMware users is they didn't include the VMware driver for the mouse by default, so you have to. There's an app
you still
got
to install that.
Yeah,
but still,
there's also a few other things like the one of the open source video drivers didn't get included. I would have liked to have seen that, but that's already out there. There's already a package for that. So for the most part, the things that I kind of had initial issues with within a couple of days have kind of already been taken care of.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very happy with it. I'm going to keep running it here on the netbook because it's been running solid and fast and crazy nice. And this isn't the netbook remix or anything, which also runs well, But it's just a full version of Ubuntu. It runs great. I can't say anything bad about it.
With every release, I've gotten more and more comfortable with the idea of running Ubuntu as my server. At first, I was like only Debian or only CentOS, but now I'm more kind of thinking, well, Ubuntu gives me newer packages, and they're doing some nice stuff with their server version. So I'm more and more, I'm kind of going that direction for my servers.
Now, what I really need to try out next is the Kubuntu version, the KDE 4 version of 904, because they're grabbing, I believe it's the latest 4.22 of KDE. And so I really kind of want to give it a spin on Ubuntu and see how it rolls. Because I was trying it out on OpenSUSE, and I just like to see how it differs nowadays.
Right.
But anyway, it is definitely recommended if you're an Ubuntu person. If you're not an Ubuntu person, it really isn't all that much new to convert you over to Ubuntu.
I suppose not.
It's a good progression. It is better than 8.10 in my opinion, and it is a steady march forward in quality and stability. But it's not the revolutionary release that's going to convert everyone over.
Speaking of Kubuntu, is Kubuntu the first KDE distro to not offer a KDE 3X alternative? Because OpenSUSE and Fedora, I think both have KDE 3 and 4.
Did they drop KDE 3 completely from Kubuntu?
Yeah. That's what Mike tells me in the chat room, and I'm pretty sure that's the case from reading the Ubuntu Planet.
Wow.
So
that's intense.
I know.
I got to be honest. I like that. I mean, KDE 4 still has some things that need to get fixed up.
Chat room is saying Kubuntu is the first. It looks like.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
That's a big deal, actually. That's probably nice to see. So they're the KDE 4 distro right now.
They are, yeah.
All right.
All right, Brian. Well, the next story on the news docket is, I've covered the progression and the status update. Like a couple episodes ago, we did, the 2009 outlook for Code Weavers. These are the guys that do crossover Office that really kind of allowed me to switch to the Linux desktop, because at the time there wasn't really like Evolution and things like that could work in Exchange, and I had to have like perfect Office. I worked at a bank. I had every spreadsheet had to render perfectly, and I needed to run Office on the Linux desktop. Code Weavers came along, and that allowed me to make the switch, and so I've always liked to track their progress.
Absolutely. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So Code Weavers is releasing Crossover Office 8 in the near future. It's still in early beta, but I thought I would take a couple of minutes before the show today, and I would jump on a call with Jeremy White. He's the CEO over at Code Weavers, and I chatted with him just really briefly about the new version of Crossover Office that's in the works. All right, guys, you get to watch that. Oh, they should play. Okay, on the line, we're talking about Crossover Office, and I thought, well, who better to talk about Crossover Office than the CEO of Code Weavers? I've got Jeremy White on the phone. Hello, Jeremy, how are you?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing well.
So, I just saw recently that you announced a very early beta of Crossover 8. Now, just a really quick recap in your own words, what is Crossover Office? What does that accomplish?
Well, so what Crossover is it's basically a polished and supported version of Wine. So the idea is it lets you run Windows applications on your Linux system without needing a copy of Windows.
Right, nice. Yeah, you guys kind of have like a front end where you can install Windows applications, and you work to specifically make, you direct efforts towards specifically making certain applications run well, right?
Exactly.
Like Office has been one of them, obviously.
Microsoft Office, things like Quicken. We really try to focus on, obviously we want everything to run, but we focus on applications where there's a pretty strong need and where there isn't as good an alternative on Linux as there might be on Windows, or even, just a favorite on Windows. Try to make that run for folks.
Right, gotcha. So I know it's still really early beta. It's not really for mass consumption yet because it's rough around the edges. But you recently blogged a couple days ago about version 8.0. Now, what kind of stuff are we going to see in version 8.0?
Well, so the big news is going to be IE 7 and the beginnings of IE 8, but not really good enough for prime time. And then a lot of sort of across-the-board improvements, a lot more work going into Outlook 2007. I'm now using that every day, and so I've got to make it work for me. And then really what you've got, and this is kind of a subtle one and it's hard to advertise, but you've got just this huge, huge volume of improvements in Wine that really provide this sort of across-the-board, just better experience.
Okay.
Again, we try to run everything, and now everything runs just a little bit better than it did in Crossover 7.
That's fantastic. So, one of the questions I get a lot whenever I talk about Code Weavers and the crossover games or the crossover office type products is, do they contribute back to the wine upstream community? And you guys work pretty closely with the wine project, right?
Well, we are the wine project, really. I mean, and we actually don't contribute back. We contribute first. So everything we do goes to wine first. So in point of fact, if you look at wine and you look at the bulk of the movement it's had, it's really, there's a lot of great people in the wine community, and we're not the only people, but we're certainly the big contributor and the main mover and shaker. And we tend to do all the really nasty, awful jobs too, because that's the advantage to paying someone. Volunteer. It's like, I don't really want to write a dib engine. Well, right. Someone else you can make them. But so the big deal with Crossover is that it's a polished and supported version of wine, and it's really well focused on particular tasks.
Okay. I've been I mentioned to you before we started recording. I've been a long-time customer of the different Code Weavers products. Initially I worked in a very Windows-centric shop, and Evolution didn't quite have the Exchange features I needed, and so I bought it just for Outlook. And then one of the things I was really impressed by is the way it integrates in with the Linux desktop, KDE or GNOME, in such that if someone emails me a Word attachment, it's associated with the Code Weavers version of Office. It like I can double click on a doc file and it will open up in Word. And Jeremy, this is to your credit. One of the things I noticed is a lot of the time, Microsoft Word running under Code Weavers Wine would launch faster than native OpenOffice.
Yep.
So you guys must spend a ton of time on performance tweaking. And I guess that's kind of like what you're saying some of the improvements from Wine come from.
Well, right, and also this is sort of one of our great boasting points. Wine stands for Wine is not an emulator. And so the whole point is that we run that application, we run Word at native speed. I mean, it's just Intel bytes, and we run them on your Intel processor. And so it's just a matter of us making our implementation of GDI and some of these Windows subsystem stuff as fast as the Microsoft equivalent. And you get situations where Linux is sufficiently better than the Windows kernel that you actually get better performance on Linux. I had a RAM-constrained laptop I would run World of Warcraft on, and the performance was much better on Linux than on Windows, just because the memory management on Linux is so much better.
Yep. I will get a higher frame rate with World of Warcraft under Linux than I will under Windows. So
right, and being fair, that's an one case. The truth is our DirectX implementation isn't quite as robust as Microsoft, so the general case is we're not quite as fast. But
there's been a lot of time specifically spent on World of Warcraft, right?
Oh, sure. And the important point is that when you compare us to a true emulator like a VirtualBox or a VMware or something like that, we are substantially faster and much more like a native feeling. Now, the idea is we just make Linux Windows compatible. That's the whole idea.
Exactly, and it makes it great for people that have to live in a Windows world but want to run Linux. Now, I know you've got to run, so I've just got a couple of more, actually 3 more questions for you.
Sure.
You just touched on one of them, and that first one was, are you concerned that your market is slowly going to be taken away by things like VMware and VirtualBox as they up the integration and as they up their feature list? VirtualBox just introduced OpenGL support. Now, obviously, like you just said, the performance is not nearly as good as a native app running under Crossover, but they do have that now. And then they're also doing things like they have a different name, but they have coherence mode where Windows applications will run like a window on your desktop. They don't have you don't have to run inside the window of the VirtualBox. Are you concerned that these improvements in the virtualization products are going to eat away at your potential market?
Well, sure. I mean, and we've actually, if you look at VMware, we've been competing with that for years and years and years, and that's probably our biggest competitor, if you will. Well, that and free wine. But again, there's so many benefits to running without having to have a copy of Windows that, I just don't have a problem with that. Our job is to improve Wine so that everything just works. Because when it works in Wine and when it works in Crossover, it's so much nicer. You just don't want to use anything else. So it's my job to make everything work. And then that competitive issue sort of vanishes. The great news for consumers, It's a free market. There's a lot of choices. I mean, that's one of the things I crave is freedom of choice. You don't have to use Windows. You don't have to use Crossover. I think that's great.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it.
If you want to use, if you want to test your website, you're developing a website and you want to test it under Internet Explorer 7 or even 6, do you want to have to run an entire virtual machine with all of the overhead, or you just want to be able to run just the application?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you want to be able to have IE6 and IE7 stacked up side by side because you can do that with Crossover. It's easy to set them up in separate bottles, as an example.
The bottle thing is very cool. Okay, so the next question I had for you, as we kind of wrap up here, is it looks like with Crossover 8, and maybe you've already done this before, but this is, as far as I know, it's new, is you're pushing to have it work on FreeBSD and OpenSolaris.
Right.
And what's the driver there? Is it just as many platforms as possible, or have you actually gotten customer feedback requesting that?
Actually, that's me being psychotic and crazy, and highly irresponsible. We just have very nice people from the FreeBSD and OpenSolaris community asking nicely, and I'm just kind of a sucker for people who ask nicely. We don't really see it as a huge market. We don't see it as, I don't think there's a lot of companies that target it, but a lot of people have done work, and we've done work over the years to support it, so it just felt hypocritical not to make it available. So it's not a big issue. It's not a big effort for us, or it's not a big initiative for us, but it's just trying to be gracious because it's not that hard to go from Linux to FreeBSD. So, gosh, we really just should try to do that little extra effort when we can.
Absolutely, and just as an aside for you, just I know because you said you're spending a lot of effort on it. One of the things that has I've played with I don't know if you've looked at it. You probably have the PC BSD desktop.
Yep.
And actually, to be honest with you, Jeremy, one of the reasons I don't run it on one of my machines is because I want Crossover.
Okay. All right.
So
well, now you can try it.
Yeah.
Of course, no guarantees. We think it works, but it's not going to be an officially supported platform for us. So if it doesn't work, then I'll mostly say, "Gee, I'm sorry." Whereas if it doesn't work on Linux, I'll say, "I'll go get people to fix it."
Right. Yeah, I know. I get that. And I think that's perfectly acceptable. The last question I had for you is, I still get people that have never really heard of Code Weavers, and you guys have been around for a few years now. You've been around for a while now, right?
Quite a long time. Yeah, we've been doing this, going on 10 years now.
That's what I thought.
So
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's
I'm like the old grizzled veteran of the Linux community. Yeah, I tell you, man. Well, that's a shame to hear that. Although it's a big world and you can't hear about everything. But we try to, we're a small company, and so marketing is hard. We can't have Super Bowl ads to create awareness. But we do sort of hope that everyone hears about Wine, and and obviously if they just use Wine, that's great. But then if they want a little better support, hopefully they can find us through the Wine webpage as well.
Leads to that. Yeah, and I think that's probably how I found you guys originally years ago. Was I was struggling in. Jeremy, I know I said I only had a few more questions, but I just have two little questions.
That's fine. I'm good.
Okay. The other question is my understanding is jumping back, which I should have brought this up earlier. My understanding is when VMware implemented support in their Workstation and Fusion products for DirectX acceleration for Windows XP guests, they're actually using Wine code to do that. Do you know if that's true?
Actually, I believe that's Parallels that did it that way. I don't know that VMware did it that way.
Okay. Now, so how do you feel about that? I mean, you're working on Wine, and it's open source, and you're contributing to that as you build your product, and then a competitor comes along and can potentially use your own code.
Yep.
How do you
well,
feel about
it's my bed, I gotta. And the only thing that makes me sad about it is that, again, we've done a lot of work on Wine, but so have a lot of other people, and I am really grateful to those people that have worked and have basically given their work to us, if you will. And I find it frustrating when people don't thank the contributors. Do you know what I mean? Don't say. If you look at what Parallels did, it was very. The source code had to be dragged out of them. They don't acknowledge Wine anywhere. They really don't get the spirit of it. Do you know what I mean? And that to me is more of the shame than.
Now, what license is Wine under?
It's an LGPL license.
And so they are they are now contributing the code back?
No. They've made the code available as a download, but they haven't contributed anything, nor have they thanked Wine. I mean, they've basically
they're just barely following. They're sticking to the very
Yeah,
strict
and
set of
actually,
law.
strictly speaking, they're probably not in LGPL compliance, but they're they comply if someone raises a stick at them, basically.
Gotcha. That's too bad.
So it's just frustrating. It's just there's a
Now-
gracious way to do things and a less gracious way to do things, and
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
I guess that you take the good and the bad with the open source model there, and that would
Yep.
potentially be some of the bad.
Right, but then the good for me is I have all of these wonderful people who give me code, who help. I mean, we get a lot of help from the Wine, Bugzilla and App Database. I mean, we get an enormous benefit by being a part of the community. So I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, we're a small company, but we can leverage a lot more than just our own resources because we're sort of so firmly embracing the open source model. So there are benefits. I mean, but you're right. One of the downsides is our competitors can go grab our code that we wrote and use it against us, and that's
Right.
tough. But oh well.
Okay, so really kind of the last follow-up question I had is, when I first started as a customer, there was only the Linux product, but now you also offer a Mac product. Now, how's that doing? Are you seeing some good feedback with the Mac product?
Yeah, actually, that one's doing very, very well. We're very excited. It's probably half of our business now is Mac.
Wow.
So obviously, from a
That grew fast.
it's very good, and what's great about it is a lot of the work benefits both platforms. So the more support we get from our customers, the better it is for both sides. The better Wine gets across the board. So that's great news. And we've been doing very well these last few years, and we were struggling when we had only Linux. Linux by itself was not enough of a market to really help us to thrive. And
so the Mac sales are helping essentially the Linux version too, then by financing.
Exactly.
How would you say? I don't know how often you get down and dirty with the code yourself, but how would you say the development experience has been on Mac OS X versus Linux?
Well, I'm an
can
old
be totally
Linux
honest. I know it's
gearhead,
Linux Action Show,
so
but this is a topic we cover a lot, so don't worry about upsetting anyone.
yeah, I mean, I'm just so my bias is strongly towards the Linux side. I know Alexander Juilliard, who's the maintainer of Wine, genuinely tried for 3 to 4 months to switch to Mac, to just fully switch, because it's got a full Unix, it's got full nice X terms, and he just couldn't do it. He went back to Linux eventually. But understand, he runs FEWM, so he's kind of a crazy guy in Emacs, right? So yeah, he's crazy.
All right, but it hasn't been like. I guess my main question is there something that you end up doing on one platform that then becomes quite a task to be able to implement on the other platform?
Not really. There's certainly challenges between the two, and there's wonderful things like Mac. There's just one OS vendor. There's just one OS version. There's a lot more stability and a lot more testing. You don't have to do Fedora 64, Fedora 32. You don't have to do a version of Ubuntu that was updated on March 3rd. I mean, there's a lot of frustrations in the Linux community. On the other hand, Linux users are generally a little bit more savvy, a little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Our Mac customers they sort of expect absolute perfection the first time, and we spend a lot of time sort of teaching them computer basics, which that gets kind of frustrating sometimes too. So
absolutely, that's interesting. Yeah, before we did the Linux Action Show, we ran a Mac community site, and one of our main drivers to switching to the Linux desktop and things like that was just the community is very broad, very dynamic, but it generally is a lot more interactive and a lot more patient.
Yep. Yeah. And I shouldn't. It's not fair. There's great people in the Mac community as well. It's just I'm giving you our stereotypes, which is that it's the Linux user with Gen 2 and a 64-bit build and who's got too much detail and he drives you crazy, and then you got the Mac user who doesn't know how to turn on the computer. And so it's sort of a frustration of the two.
So 8.0 is coming out soon. You don't have an exact final date yet because you're just working on getting it perfect, right?
Yeah, no, we'll ship it when it's done.
And the main features,
probably just a month or two, but pretty quick.
And the main features are going to be Internet Explorer 7.
Yep.
As much as possible. Office 2007 and do I read right? You're also working get Quick in 2009 working?
Yep. Yeah, actually, Quick in 2009 is the main emphasis of this beta business we were doing. Yep. And we should also be improving our QuickBooks support. There's also there's a lot of under the cover stuff like .NET applications up through .NET 2.0 should now work. There's an enormous range of things that should now work that didn't, a year ago.
Awesome.
So, Yep.
Very nice, Jeremy. Well, thanks for letting me call you up at the last minute. I just
Oh, sure.
big fan of the product, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit on today's show. So thanks for letting me track you down and bug you.
No worry. I appreciate the interest, and have fun running it on FreeBSD.
Absolutely, I'll let you know. I'm going to do it on PCBSD, and I look forward to that.
Alrighty.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Now, I think
There we
what's
go,
happening
there
is
we
that you
go.
really don't want me to be
I just don't want
heard.
your voice.
You don't want my opinion on whether or not you did a good job on that, apparently.
So that was Jeremy White, the CEO of Codeweavers. I thought that
It
was
sure-
I thought that was kind of interesting.
That was
Good
kind of
insight.
interesting. Hold on a second.
Yeah. What? Oh, we got lines on our faces? We got lines on our faces? All right.
Oh, Brian fixed it.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
Okay. So let's wrap up with our last news story for the day. Let me get that ready. This one's kind of an interesting one.
like the day.
All right. I didn't know about DirectX 10, Lord Potter, so I did not ask that.
Direct 3D10, you don't know what that is?
No, I mean, I know what it is. I didn't know they were going to have it in Codeweavers. All right. So let's
I don't know if they are. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Hush it up, Brian. And a big thanks to Jeremy for coming on the show and chatting with us about the new version. Interesting. People
Very.
say in the chat room that we might be able to look forward to DirectX 10 support. I didn't ask that question because I didn't know about it, but that might be something to look into.
I don't think people in the chat room are actually saying that.
Oh, are they not? Oh, okay.
It's just an interesting question.
They would like to have it. Well, sure. You know what? I would like to have it too. I agree with that.
It would be
Yeah.
a good thing.
All right. So the last story on the news docket for this week, the biggest story probably. I'm going to say sorry a bunch of folks, but this is really big. This is long-term big. Oracle buys Sun Microsystems for, depending on how you do the math, $5.6 billion.
Holy crap on a stick.
That's all of so
and poked in your
overall.
eye.
Overall, Oracle spent $7.4 billion. So that includes all of Sun's debt and things like that. This is kind of one of those moments where you go, whoa. All right, so Oracle, just to kind of run down the list of things I think of off the top of my head, Oracle now essentially has MySQL. They have
Java.
And Java.
And Netscape.
And VirtualBox.
And VirtualBox.
And
Open Solaris.
Do we already say OpenOffice?
Nope.
OpenOffice.
Office.
StarOffice. Yeah, well, I mean, they're a lot of the maintainers come from Sun. So I mean, it's big.
Holy moly!
I mean, I don't know exactly.
I mean, this is huge. I
Right.
have no idea.
And it'll be interesting
what this means.
You know, one of the things that came up is, is Oracle going to become a Solaris shop now? And I go back to the fact that Oracle's been playing with Linux now for a while. I mean, they rolled out Trusted Linux.
Yep.
They were at Linux Fest Northwest last year handing out Trusted Linux CDs.
They were.
And so they've already kind of started going down that Linux path. And so I think they're going to stick with that. I wouldn't expect them to jump ship to Solaris.
No, they're just going to offer multiple products.
The other thing that it means they have, which is one of the things for me personally that I'm really interested in, is ZFS.
Right.
Because
they have that now too.
Yeah. So they've got a really large library now of some really impressive technologies.
Huge library.
Oh yeah, was it Trusted Linux or no? It was Unbreakable Linux. My bad.
But I mean, just the fact that Oracle, of Oracle database fame,
right,
now has MySQL. Now, I mean, I know that there are branches to MySQL that are out there, including the founder of MySQL, who's going to be also at Linux Fest Northwest.
We talked about that last episode.
But I mean, so they're out there. But just the same, the actual, in terms of naming, MySQL is now owned by the people who bring you Oracle 9i and whatnot. I mean, it's
wild.
It's crazy. I mean, it's akin to Microsoft buying Apple.
You think it's that big?
It's huge. I mean, this impacts the enterprise market in a huge, major, my ear itches way. And I mean, we're talking databases are changing. We're talking having Open Solaris and Solaris along the lines of a company that's also releasing a Linux distribution. We've got, I mean, it's just one thing after another where basically Oracle now has duplicates of products in the exact same market.
I think, if nothing else, if we get GPL'd versions of ZFS and dtrace,
it'll be a plus.
I'm going to be a happy boy because
it could go really well for us.
Linux
it's
needs
huge.
ZFS, and don't start talking to me about ext4. It's not even in the same league as ZFS. It's really not.
Absolutely not.
But right now, due to its licensing, it can't be included in the Linux kernel.
It's so huge. I mean, it blows my mind how big this could be.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. It's like if Microsoft bought Apple.
Yeah.
And now they had multiple
so.
desktop systems and multiple development environments and they have 2 different phone OSs and all sorts of stuff. It's big. Now, it impacts perhaps more the server side in the enterprise than the desktop.
I think so.
But just the same, what impacts the server side in the enterprise, well, it trickles downhill.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
That's
Plus, we're talking Java here. So, I mean, Sun's done a lot of moves to bring Java into the open source realm over the last few years.
Right.
What becomes of that now that we've got it under the auspices of Oracle? I don't know.
That's the question.
I've never seen a project of that scale handled by Oracle that impacts us that directly.
Yeah.
I mean, people can go their whole lives without running anything from Oracle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas Java, we've all run something with Java.
Right.
So what happens now?
I mean, a lot of times we don't even know we're using something with Java. It's on a lot of
Exactly.
set-top boxes and things like that. So, yeah, definitely big news.
It could be good.
It
could be bad. It could be nothing at all.
Well, now that we're back twice a month, Brian, we're going to be able to follow this even closer than before.
And honestly, this is, in my opinion, far, far potentially bigger than any of the whole Novell in Microsoft or in bed or any of the other big stories that have been happening. You know what I mean?
It's different, though, in the sense that it's not a partnership, so there's not like that patent agreement.
No.
Because Oracle's just taking them over now. They're owning all that IP and property. So it's a little bit different of a deal, but it is potentially going to have more long-term repercussions, and we don't know if they're going to be good or bad.
Right.
So it is.
That's the thing.
That is the thing.
That is the thing. It's huge. So anyway, really, anything we said right now is pure speculation. Let's wait. I'm hoping over the next 2 to 4 weeks we'll hear some real specific plans come from Oracle about what it is they intend to do with a lot of these small, medium, and large projects that Sun has.
Now's the time where Oracle needs to kind of reach out to the community and kind of really drive the message. If they don't own this situation, the message is going to get created for them, and it'll be created by people that are probably doing it out of fear. And this is one of the areas that traditional companies have messed up a lot in the past, is they're not owning their own message. They're not driving. They're not interacting and interfacing directly with the community. And so then what happens is kind of what happened with the Novell Microsoft deal. Some of it's legit and some of it's reactionary, and it just kind of gets a bad buzz all around.
Right.
So there you have it.
Well, we'll see. We will see.
We'll keep people posted.
We probably will.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week.
That is a really great point, Christopher.
Thank you.
You really made that one, and
Thank
you drove the point home.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I heard it and I liked it.
Thank you. Totally random.
Everyone thank Chris.
Totally Random wants us to give out a shout to all of the New Zealand and Australian listeners celebrating the fallen heroes on Anzac Day today.
Today or tomorrow, depending on
But the show
your time
comes out
zone, I
in
guess.
2 days, so that doesn't really make sense. But it's in the video.
Hey, it's in the video.
I'll get a few thousand views.
So hopefully you celebrated it well if you're in New Zealand or Tonga or Australia.
All right, guys.
etc.
So if anybody's up for it, we could take a few calls before we wrap the show for the week.
Oh, absolutely, man.
If people are down like a clown and they want to do that, we could take a few live calls.
I don't like clowns at all.
Anybody? Let me open up the Skype.
I prefer it if we use a completely different metaphor
Oh.
from now on. No more clown-based metaphor.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No, I forgive you and everything. It's just, it's kind of insensitive considering,
No.
I don't either. Just talking right now, seeing if people are interested in Skyping in.
I gotcha.
Hey, Skype, take a deep breath.
Yeah, I love that. That's not condescending.
Yeah.
Oh, except for I don't want to sign into that account. That's the wrong account. Sign in as
All
another
right,
user.
Chris is logging into Skype. We just told you guys to log into Skype and get all set up.
Well, I don't.
Chris was not prepared.
I don't leave it logged in because otherwise we get like a million things.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Right,
I don't leave
right.
it logged in either.
So is anybody going to call before I go through the trouble of getting all this set up? If you're going to call, say something in the chat room. Otherwise,
yeah, if you're going to call,
otherwise we're gonna-
call, to do a little typey real quick.
Otherwise, we're going to continue with the show because we have dinner plans and we're hungry.
We are very hungry, actually, guys. We are here despite our hunger.
We are
for
here despite
your
our hunger.
entertainment.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Bum, I am a bum 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 doodly bum bum bum. This is a bum bum bum. And being as it is Friday evening, I would like to wish a hearty Shabbat Shalom to absolutely nobody out there, I'm guessing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice of you, Brian.
No problem.
All right, so I'm going to leave the Skype line up. I don't really actually even have it set up yet, but nobody's called. And it's going to close in 5, in 4, in 3.
Oh, Chris is clicking. Wait, but they're lagged behind.
I know,
so
that's
you
why I'm
have to-
waiting. That's why I'm waiting.
Uh,
And I'm closing.
oh,
And I don't have to
Chris
wire the audio.
closed the Skype.
All right, so we're going to move on with the show. We've got a couple
But
of...
we'll do calls again in 2 weeks if people want to do it.
Oh, yeah, now that we're more frequently, too. And plus, also now that we're live streaming more and more, we're gonna interact with you folks out there more that way, too.
Which is cool.
That's another reason to tune into our live
I
streams.
loves it.
All right, so I'm going to pull up a couple of emails to read. Methinks.
Gross.
Right?
Gross.
I know. How long is this show? So it's 40 minutes plus the interview.
Yeah, so we've got a full-on show already.
We don't have time for emails.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna skip emails.
His name was Philip.
Yep, his name is Philip, and he's in the forum. There's a thanks Philip thread, and then there's also so you can find him in there, and then he's also on Twitter. All right, we're gonna actually skip emails. We'll do them on the live streams or something like that in the future because I didn't realize we already have almost an hour long show here. So
Yeah.
Yep. Look at
We gotta keep it reasonable, guys.
there's his Twitter ID in the chat room. Okay, Brian, let's wrap this bad mamma jamma.
All right.
I'm gonna do the store, and then I think that's all I got for that.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ready when you are, sir.
No, I'm ready. Well, golly gee, I do believe that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast.
Brought to you by our store.
That's right.
Yeah, we have a gear store where we.
I was just trying to think it through, and I'm like, wait a minute, I already did the GoDaddy
Yep,
plug at
yep.
the beginning.
No, we
now
have
I'm
a-
all thrown off, my brain just melted, and now it's sitting on the floor, and it's beautiful.
Our new thing is really kind of if you have if you want to get any audio or video gear or even some just different IT gear like portable. I have some portable like IT gear and stuff that I use over at JupiterBroadcasting.com/store. And if you buy from there, it's basically just an Amazon affiliate store. We make a small percentage, but if you're already going to buy
Yeah,
this
really
stuff,
not much.
if you're going to buy this stuff anyways and you were going
Buy
to get it
through
online,
there.
check it out there. And if it's something,
Here's the great part. You know, you can actually, if you go in there, if you're going to buy anything from Amazon anyway, and you're just going to be buying it, go click on in there,
Yep.
and then just surf around, find what you want to buy, and then buy it, because then we get like a tiny little bitty
That's
bit
true.
of it.
Yep,
We
if
get a little
you-
kickback, and it doesn't cost
if
you
our
anything.
store ends up linking you over to something else on Amazon, it still helps us out.
Yeah.
So we're wrapping up the show. We're now coming at you twice a month.
Twice a
And
month, which feels good, honestly.
The release schedule is going to work as such. So this is coming out, So the 25th, 26th? This is coming out on the 26th. And then the week after that is... What we're going to try to do is stagger the Linux Action Show and Cast Blast. So
Right.
this week is going to be the Linux Action Show. The following week is Cast Blast.
which will be on the 4th.
And then the week after that
or
will
the
be...
5th. Yeah.
The week after that will be... Yeah, because Cast Blast... Yeah.
Right.
And the week after that will be the Linux Action Show again.
Which is back on May 10th.
May 10th is the next Linux Action Show. Good job, Brian. Look at you with
Thanks.
the calendar, man.
I got my little gnome app lit up here. Boom, right there.
Oh, yeah, with the fancy clocks and
with
stuff.
fancy clocks and the world time and the
Yeah.
whatnots. So it's pretty much going to be the same date if you're in Japan.
Yeah, there you
Turns
have it.
out, same date in Japan.
Now you know. And the last thing I just wanted to say is, check out. We didn't get to some of the calls we wanted today because it's we had a lot of long news to talk about, so it was a very heavy news segment. But
Yes,
Brian and I are taking more and more of your calls in our live streams.
Absolutely.
And if just to catch those, head over to JupiterBroadcasting.tv. We've got over at JupiterBroadcasting.tv. We've got each one of our streams there, plus the Jupiter Broadcasting stream. So if you don't know who's streaming or where it's streaming at, but you can just go to JupiterBroadcasting.tv and you'll find the streams there, and you can choose the one you want. It's kind of like your channel flipper for the new digital age.
Right. And really, if you head on over to my stream when I'm doing it, half the time that's all it is just calling. So we would do the little Coding with Brian show. There's no other content. It's just people calling in and
There you
talking.
have it.
So that's what it's all about.
That is so fancy, and we'd love hearing from you guys and interacting with you.
Fancy.
So you can also contact us over on our forum. That's Jupiter Broadcasting / forum. And there's a section in there just for Linux Action Show. You can give us feedback. You can share something with the community. Or you can hit us up on Twitter.
You can write poetry in there.
That's my Twitter is my new preferred way because I'm starting to get kind of buried by email. That is
for sure.
Twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I'm over there at the same URL for Twitter.com, which is interesting enough, /Brian with a YLAS.
Very nice, Brian. Look at you having the social networking.
The social networking is phenomenal.
It's also the same user ID on Identica and Plurk and all those other sites.
And here's the thing, guys.
If
If you don't really care about the social networking at all, at least sign up to join and follow me, because I'm still trailing Chris by like 100 some odd people that are following him and not following me.
What that really
and
means,
I feel like a loser, gentlemen.
What that really means is you probably just want to follow me because then you're sticking it to Brian. And
No, seriously, guys, that's totally not the
sometimes
case.
Brian's kind of, a little hard to put up with, so you probably want to follow me. All right, well, Brian, you know what? I think that just about wraps up this episode.
Yeah, I guess it does, huh?
I think so. So
we're going to have words.
So be sure to tune back in 2 weeks for the next episode of Linux Action Show. And hey, if you're going to be at Linux Fest Northwest this weekend,
come and say me get lynched by an angry mob. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Be sure to come and say hi to us. And if we go out for beers afterward, you can join us. And maybe
Tons of fun.
If you're a cool dude, we'll buy you a brew.
Tons of fun.
All right,
guys.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Linux Action Show. We'll see you
in 2 weeks.
Nicely done, Brian.
Thank you. Wait a minute, Chris. Nicely done, Chris.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we've got to record the intro.
I hope there will be video of my talk. We're going to give it a shot. We don't really know what the room is like. We don't really know what resources we've got available. We don't even know what kind of outlets we've got.
That's true.
It's in a classroom
Better make
setting
sure
up at Bellingham Technical College, and so I don't really know what's going on. We're going to give it a shot, though. And, the likelihood of having a stream is pretty unlikely.
What's
it's
the
pretty
best
low,
way for me to get you the show notes, or the intro, to read the intro?
You can just instant message them over to me.
All right, I'll get on. See, I've been avoiding this semester because then I'm going to get inundated with instant messages. But I will do that.
Just hop in and hop off.
All right.
Or you could, you know what you could do? You could just send the show notes in the IRC chat room.
Do you have a Dropbox on that thing?
No.
Of course you don't.
Man, yeah, we're gonna see how this is gonna go on Sunday. I've got the slides pretty much all ready to rock and roll, and I'm not certain. Honestly, I really don't know if it's gonna be a packed house, if there's just gonna be 2 people there. I really don't know what's happening at Linux Fest Northwest this year. Hopefully, there'll be a lot more people, just because it's funner to rant in front of a lot of people. We actually did a last intro with kind of a Barry White thing. Was it like a year ago?
Yeah, it wasn't technically legal, but...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You broke the law on that one, probably.
I'm a lawbreaker.
Yeah, so Barry, if you're getting this, we recognize it. Go ahead and drop us a line if you got a problem with it, and Chris will fix it because I want him to do more work. Yeah, we still got to do the if you guys want to hang around. We're just at this point. Chris is writing up the intro for me, as he does every episode, and then what happens is I start to read it and notice that there's really weird things like the word "the" 3 times in a row, and it throws me off, or he'll misspell like something like Ubuntu and he'll spell it like vagina or something like that, and then I'll freak out and throw something at him. We'll redo it 2 times. I'll start to get frustrated, and then I'll pound it out once after we edit everything, and then we usually do something like yell boom, and we act like we're totally awesome. This is generally how this flies.
Right. All right. So I'm going to send this to you over the instant messages.
Hey, baby. I really wish I could do a Great Barry White. I mean, I just don't have it in me. My oh, thanks there, Chris. We got Linux Action Show. We give you a review of the new Ubuntu release. Have a quick chat with the CEO of Codeweavers. The Oracle news blows our minds, and we tell you all about it. Plus, so much more. All this. Okay.
Yeah, you good with that?
I think I can roll with that. All right, Chris is sending it over to me. Lancaster does a fantastic Sean Connery. I do a terrible Sean Connery, as you guys can well tell. Here's the thing. I do a terrible Sean Connery, but I do it all the time. And I know I do it awful, but it feels so good, even to do a bad Sean Connery. It just constitutes me pulling the left side of my face all funny and slurring my speech a little bit. Basically, it sounds like I've had a stroke and am drunk. This is Sean Connery.
This is Sean Connery. This is Sean Connery. Sean Connery.
All right.
All right. Boy, we've been recording this whole thing, so that's excellent. All right, you ready to do that
It's
intro?
fantastic. That right there is good TV.
All right, let me know when you're ready, and I'll hit the recorder.
Let's rock and roll. This week on the Linux Action Show, we give you a review of the new Ubuntu release, have a quick chat with the CEO of Codeweavers, then Oracle... That feels weird. Hold on.
What?
We give you a review of the new Ubuntu release, have a quick chat with the CEO of Codeweavers.
What?
The Oracle news. See, when it's with Codeweaver, and then the Oracle news blows our minds, and we tell you...
All right, how about the crazy big news from Oracle? You want to put that in there? You want to add that in there? The crazy
Yeah, something
news.
big there. Okay, all right, I got it.
All right. All right.
See, guys, this is what I'm telling you. Chris screws something up. Brian has to come to the rescue.
That was not screwed up. That was just you saying it doesn't feel right.
All right, everyone in the chat room.
No.
If Brian says something doesn't feel right, does that mean it's broken? It does.
If something's broken. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, ass.
Here we go in 3, in a 2.
This week on the Linux Action Show, we give you a review of the new Ubuntu release, have a quick chat with the CEO of Codeweavers, the crazy big news from Oracle blows our minds, and we tell you all about it, plus so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show. How's that feel?
That was pretty satisfactory.
It was
A
satisfactory?
little peaky, but pretty good, actually.
You want me to do another one?
No, I think it's good.
You sure?
Yeah, I think it's good. Brian, I think it's good.
I don't know. Also, we say bollocks live.
All right.
Woo!
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that together tonight.
Tonight? So you just have it ready?
Maybe. I don't know. Because, with the birthday
Seems
coming
like a
up
lot
and
of
Linux
work.
Fest, I don't know. I got to figure it out.
It's a lot of stuff going
it's
on.
stuff, Brian.
I tell you, man, this is nonstop.
So I think that just about is it.
I think that's all
I'm
we
going to
got.
stop recording. We might stream for a little bit longer, but for all of you that watch the behind the scenes recording of Linux Action Show video, thanks for sticking around
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
this long, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear feedback, so if you have recommendations for things we can improve with the video version, let us know so we can make those changes. And if you just enjoyed it, let us know, so that way I know it's worth the copious amounts of effort it takes to produce it.
Absolutely.
And things like that. So if you did enjoy
Tell
it,
your friends and family.
give me a shout. Let us know how it goes. But anyways, hope you enjoyed it. And this is how the sausage was made.